I don't know if you had time to get a meal before you came here or not. Maybe you went through a really fast food line and you wolfed something down and you don't even remember what it was. We live in a world where we're taking bits and pieces and we often don't even recall what it was. Maybe you've had a bag or jar of cookies and you don't remember eating them, but they're gone somehow. How did this happen? Jesus offers us a meal. It was the focal point of the early Christians. When Paul was writing a letter to Corinth, he says, "What I received from the Lord, I handed on to you, that the Lord Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, took a loaf of bread, gave thanks and broke it, saying, 'This is my body for you. Do this for the remembrance of me.'" Luke 22 tells about this special meal, and so does Matthew 26. And here in Mark 14, "Take, this is my body." For some reason, the word "take" struck me tonight. Most of the time when I think about Jesus giving. But tonight I noticed the word "take." Take this bread. Take this cup. Paul said that the meal Jesus began occurred on the night in which he was betrayed. That tells me this meal didn't originate among human beings who were of one mind or heart regarding Jesus or his gospel. To the contrary, Jesus fed his disciples knowing that he was in the company of a betrayer, in the company of sleepyheads, in the company of people who would promise great things and not be able to deliver. This fact places a kind of stamp on our celebrations of the Lord's meal. It's clear from the get-go that it comes as a gift from God to human beings, always. Take this. I like it that Jesus uses food to solve a problem that began with food. Confirmation class, we've done a kind of overview of the Bible, and you heard how at the very beginning Adam and Eve had a choice to make. And they thought that apple looked really good. And the snake said, "If you eat this, you are going to be as wise as God." I said, "Whoa, that sounds pretty good. Give me a bite." And in the wisdom of our ancestors in faith, so began the unraveling of human life and love and history. And it is in this meal that Jesus takes bread and uses it to solve the problem that began in a meal in a garden with a fruit about which God said, "Do not take." But now Jesus changes it up. And instead of saying, "Do not take," he says, "Here you go. This is for you. Take it." The cravings and appetites that led our first parents to choose death over life are being stood on their head as Jesus chooses life at the price of death. I'm fascinated by the word "take" in all of this, because at the beginning this night, Jesus was going to be asked to take more than any human being could stand. He would have to take it when one of his nearest and dearest betrayed him. He would have to take it when the friends who said, "I'm here," fell asleep Not once or twice, but 3 times. Maybe you've been in the middle of a life crisis and your friends just kind of don't get it and they don't pay attention. Well, that's kind of what was going on for Jesus. It's not that the disciples didn't know. By my count, in Mark's gospel, Jesus has already told them 5 times that this is coming. But they're tired. And they want to catch some Z's. And they still don't get what Jesus is up to. And so he has to take it when his friends let him down. And when Jesus is seized in the garden, he has to take it as he is roughly hauled before the authorities. And when the soldiers, the entire cohort gathers round, when they beat him with sticks and reeds, he takes it. When they put a phony purple robe over his shoulders and make believe he's king, he has to take it. And when they lead him out to be crucified, he has to take it. Not because he has no choice, but because his choice is you and me. It's been said that Jesus didn't need the nails to hold him to the cross. His love was enough to do that. Everything that could be dished out, Jesus took it. In taking those things, Jesus took all that is wrong in our world and in us upon himself. These days, it may be hard to find things that are encouraging and cheering in the news. If you watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox, you're probably not hearing much at all. But in this meal, we have the promise that all of that Jesus has taken up and made his own, so that it doesn't become the last word. Jesus uses food to destroy death and sin and despair. Not a lot of food, just a little, but it's plenty. You know how much a little can do? A few years ago, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize was a guy named Muhammad Yunus. He was the founder of a microloan organization. He's considered one of the 12 greatest entrepreneurs of our time. Professor Yunus is credited for his unrelenting efforts to alleviate poverty around the world. He says that when we want to help the poor, we usually offer them charity. Most often we use charity to avoid recognizing the problem and finding a solution for it. Charity becomes a way to shrug off our responsibility. But charity is no solution to poverty. Charity only perpetuates poverty by taking the initiative away from the poor. Charity allows us to go ahead with our own lives without worrying about the lives of the poor. Charity appeases our conscience without actually changing anything. Back in the many years before, he was teaching in an international university, and he wanted so badly to do something to help. He loaned $27 US to destitute basket weavers in a village near the university's campus. He couldn't believe the excitement that tiny amount of money caused. For people living on pennies a day, just a few dollars could transform their lives. And in many cases, it did. Professor Yunus's gift was used to support and expand those very small businesses, and it helped many overcome their poverty. Much to Yunus's surprise, the basket weavers actually paid off the loans, and on time too. He then moved from one village to the next, finding all sorts of entrepreneurial projects to fund. It doesn't take a lot to change the world. Jesus knew that, and for that reason, he gives us a little and says to us, as he said to the first disciples, take this. I am taking all the rest. I am taking your sin. I am taking the beating. I am taking the hatred of the world. I am taking the fierceness of death. I am taking the bleakness of despair. In exchange, here, take this. It is my body. And in reasoning that I can't begin to explain, Jesus seems to think that he's made a good deal. Jesus said, here, take this. And tonight we do. But perhaps tomorrow or the next day, we will find a way to hold out some bit of our substance and say to someone, here, take this. You can use it. Amen.